So again, thank you for joining us today to take a virtual safari journey through Lower Zambezi National Park in Zambia. Norman Carr Safaris and Chongwe Safaris are now affiliated companies. They maintain their own identities, and they are located in far different places in Zambia. But the combination of the two make for an incredibly diverse, contrasting, and active safari experience. As you can see on your screen, the flagship experience in the Lower Zambezi National Park is the Canoe Safari. Definitely one of the best places, if not the best place in Africa to do canoe activities. Lower Zambezi National Park is located right across from the famed Mana Pools World Heritage Site in Zimbabwe, so for orientation purposes. Back up a little bit and give you a bigger orientation for those who may not be familiar with exactly where Zambia is. You can see right in the center of southern Africa, bordered by, as I said, Zimbabwe to the south and east, Namibia on the Caprivi Strip there, and Botswana, and then Malawi to the east, Tanzania, the Congo, and Angola to the northwest of the country. Most packs currently are hubbing through Johannesburg. Certainly if you have a multi-destination safari in southern Africa, Joburg will be your hub. There are many flights a day from Joburg to Lusaka, which is the gateway to Lower Zambezi National Park, as well as to South Luangwa National Park, where Norman Carr Safaris is located. There are also many flights a day from Joburg to Livingstone, which is where Victoria Falls, the beautiful Victoria Falls, located on the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia. Of course, this is what most people, their experience of Zambia is just this, is Victoria Falls. Of course, it certainly is an incredible and a must-do for any safari goer in southern Africa. Many people add this on to a safari in South Africa. After visiting Kruger National Park in Cape Town, they may do a 2-night add-on up to Vic Falls, flying into Livingstone and spending a few nights here exploring this region and witnessing the smoke that thunders that is Victoria Falls, or an add-on at the beginning or the end of a Botswana safari. But they don't actually get beyond Victoria Falls area, and that's really a shame, although it is a benefit in many ways for those packs that do, because the national parks elsewhere in Zambia have an absolutely incredible safari experience, just as good as any other in the African continent, and there are far fewer people experiencing it. So for those that are intrepid and adventurous and venture beyond Livingstone, they're definitely rewarded for it. So just a little more orientation. There's Livingstone and Victoria Falls in the southern part of Zambia. That is certainly a place that you could begin a Zambia safari, with Victoria Falls being your first stop. Good way to kind of ease into the trip, spend a few days there, seeing Victoria Falls and doing the activities of the falls, and then flying up to one of the two most famous national parks in Zambia. The first, which we covered in a previous webinar, South Luangwa National Park, where Norman Carr Safaris is located. It is the home of the walking safari. It's Norman Carr, the man Norman Carr, who really put South Luangwa on the map and really was the man who began to pioneer the walking safari. In many ways pioneered photographic safaris in Zambia and in Africa back in the 1950s, when safaris really was equated with hunting. He was one of the first to say, let's shoot animals with cameras and not with guns. But walking was really his passion, getting clients out into the African bush to experience the wildlife and to experience the bush on foot. And it's still one of the best, if not the best place in the world to do a walking safari. But today in this webinar we're talking about Chongwe Safaris. And again, that combination of the walking in in South Luangwa National Park and canoeing, the flagship activity in Lower Zambezi National Park, make for an exceptional active safari experience. We're not talking about, athletes having to do these trips. These are not supremely taxing activities. There is a certain basic level of fitness to do them, but they are certainly doable by just about all of your average safari goers. All of that said, both national parks, South Luangwa and Lower Zambezi, are exceptional for driving. They do not require you, they don't strap you into a canoe and force you down the river to paddle your way to see wildlife. If you prefer simply to do the traditional game drive, that is your guest's prerogative, your client's prerogative. It is not something that is forced upon them, although it is really, again, one of the flagship experiences. So it's kind of a shame if they're not interested in that, but it certainly is not a requirement. You can also do walking in the Lower Zambezi National Park. All walking safaris by government law, minimum age is 12. So for your family clients, there's plenty of other activities. Minimum age for canoeing is 14, but there are many of other activities to do if you have families with kids younger than 14 in Lower Zambezi. There are night drives to see the nocturnal wildlife, and it's one of the best places in Africa to catch and release tigerfish. It is a solely catch and release basis. Late August, September, October is your best time period for tiger fishing. So if you have clients interested, generally speaking, we're doing rod and reel trolling from motorized boats, but fly fishing is available. So if you have clients that are keen fly fishermen, that's something that they can certainly accommodate. I will say that it is not. There are no famous fly fishing guides, for example, but the guides that do have experience in fly fishing are certainly very competent and can deliver a really amazing experience for the fly fishermen. And then because you're on the Lower Zambezi River, or you're on the Zambezi River, the lower half of it below Victoria Falls, well below and beyond Victoria Falls, boating safaris. Again, so for those packs that are not interested in actually propelling themselves in a canoe, they can certainly still have that water safari experience by boat, in a motorized boat. And there are many, many channels, as you'll see in a map here in a second, that go from the Zambezi River into the national park. And that's where most of the canoe safaris are conducted, as well as boating safaris. And of course, sundowners, you literally can step from the camp into a boat and you have an incredible sundowner cruise. Coming soon, as I said, Norman Carr and Chongwe are part of, brother-sister companies under the Time and Tide brand, which if you went to Indaba, you may have seen that stand. It's not, there isn't yet a website or true brand launch for Time and Tide. But that will be coming, and under that brand, hopefully in 2015, will be a new 16-bed camp, luxury camp built out in Lua Plain National Park, the far west of Zambia, famous for the second largest wildebeest migration in Africa after the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. Still working out final details on that property, and certainly will be in touch as there are more details to be had. So stay tuned for that. Heading to Zambia. One important note, I'm just going to go quickly through this flying through Johannesburg and flying through South Africa. An important point of note, if you have clients going to Zambia and are flying through South Africa, the South African government requires anybody that's transiting or that's going to Zambia and then flying through South Africa on their return to have a yellow fever certificate. So this is something that you need to be aware of for clients. There is a waiver for, I think it's clients over 60 with a doctor's note. There's several conditions required on that, but that is something that if you do have clients that are really hesitant about the yellow fever certificate for whatever health reason or their age, something you should contact us about, and we can give you the information that you need to get that waiver, hopefully. But for generally speaking, for most people, it is something that is required. It's a bit punitive, quite honestly, for Zambia, because the only incidents of yellow fever were many years ago in the far, far western remote section of the country. Even the CDC puts the risk at very remote, very slight for Zambia. So this is not a case where you really need to be concerned about the health of your clients. I can send you lots of documentation and information about the yellow fever certificate and about yellow fever in Zambia if you need it to send to your clients. It really is not a big deal, except for the fact that South Africa has unfortunately put this requirement on. However, if you have clients that are interested in doing just a Zambia safari, and it certainly is a one-stop safari destination, you don't need to combine Zambia with other Southern Africa destinations to have a good safari. again, many people do for Victoria Falls, but South Luangwa, Lower Zambezi National Park, they are standalone for sure, and it's an incredible experience, far fewer people, and a really wild, authentic safari experience. So if you have packs doing just Zambia, they can fly through on Emirates from North America to, I think there's now 8 or 9, maybe 10 gateway cities from North America, including Chicago is just starting service August 5th. Direct flight nonstop from the U.S. or North America to Dubai, and then connecting on a daily nonstop from Dubai to Lusaka. 7 hours, 25 minutes nonstop. It's actually a great option because A, you don't have to worry about the yellow fever certificate, and B, it arrives about 2:30 in the afternoon into Lusaka. You can then connect with a pro flight. The last pro flight is about 4:30. That takes you up to South Luangwa National Park or over to Lower Zambezi National Park. So you have your clients, you get them there to their safari on their arrival day in time for sundowners. No need to have an overnight in Lusaka, assuming everybody's on time. The other nice thing is the outbound flight from Lusaka back to Dubai and then onward. It doesn't leave until 9:30 in the evening, so your clients can have a full day on safari experience, whether they're in Lower Zambezi or South Luangwa, spend a full day and then get to Lusaka in time for that late evening flight and that overnight back to Dubai. So you don't compromise any time on safari. You're spending far less time overnighting on forced overnights, whether that's in Lusaka or Joburg. So that Emirates flight really has a lot of advantages. And you can use American Express miles, I understand, on Emirates, as well as JetBlue for miles, and I believe American and Alaska Airlines. I know if you have West Coast packs, my parents are actually flying business class on Emirates back from Johannesburg later this month, actually. And again, from a taxes standpoint, using miles flying through Dubai is far favorable than flying through Heathrow, for instance, in terms of the landing and the airport taxes. So a really good option for a number of reasons. And there's just more and more flights now, or more and more cities that are opening up direct flights on Emirates. So, of course, South African Airways is a great option through Joburg. There are many flights a day from Joburg up to Lusaka. I think there's 5. You can also fly to Lilongwe in Malawi, which is close. Well, that's if you're going to South Luangwa. That's fairly close to the gateway to South Luangwa. If you're going to Lower Zambezi, you do need to fly to Lusaka and then onward. Speaking of the flights within Zambia, Pro Flight is really your only option. Those internal flights within Zambia can be booked by Chongwe Safaris. You don't have to worry about that. They will be quoted to you, and then you can quote them on to your clients. You can see everything's hubbing through Lusaka, Livingston, Mfui to Lusaka. That flight is about an hour. It's only a short hop, 30 minutes over the beautiful escarpment down into the Zambezi River Valley. The flight from Lusaka to Royal Airstrip, which is the main airstrip for Lower Zambezi National Park. There's also Jeki, which is a little bit farther, deeper into the park. But either way, those flights over the eastern escarpment into the Lower Zambezi National Park, the western escarpment, is just stunning. It's an amazing flight. And then it's an hour flight from Livingston to Lusaka, an hour and 10 minutes. I believe there's 3 flights a day. So if you have clients connecting from Victoria Falls and Livingston, that's your routing. Everything does hub through Lusaka, so if you're connecting multiple destinations, like if you're going from Livingston to Lower Zambezi, you unfortunately can't fly direct from Livingston to Royal Airstrip to Lower Zambezi. You have to hub through Lusaka, unless you're chartering a flight, of course, and then the sky literally is your limit. So a little final bit of orientation, I think, hopefully, and then we'll get into some photos and the meat of the presentation and really learn about Chongwe Safaris and learn more about this incredible national park in Zambia. Chongwe Safaris is made up of 4 different properties. So you have Chongwe River House, which we'll talk about, which is their flagship and their original location, right on the confluence there of the Chongwe River, which you can see flowing to the left on your screen, and the Zambezi River, which is the large river that flows into the Lower Zambezi National Park. Then just upstream, up the Chongwe River from Chongwe River Camp is Chongwe River House, which is a private house, a maximum of 8 guests, minimum of 4. Great option for high-end families or couples traveling together. Then Cassia River Lodge is about a 5K upstream on the Zambezi River, more of a value property. Same great level of guiding, just a little bit farther from the Lower Zambezi National Park, but still in the buffer zone. It's called the Chiawa Partnership Park Game Management Area. Same ecosystem as Lower Zambezi National Park, just not within the boundary. And then about 40K upstream is Tasika Island, which is a community partnership with a local village. And it really is meant to be a home base or a jumping off point for a multi-day canoe safari on the Zambezi River. So we'll talk about all 4 of those in detail now. Of course, the flagship experience, as I've said over and over again, is canoe safaris, and it's one incredible way to commune with nature and to get up close and personal, safely, of course, with the wildlife. And the herds of elephants in Lower Zambezi are extraordinary. These channels that run through the park, of course, wildlife comes down to these channels to drink, especially during the heat of the dry season. Chongwe River Camp is open only during April to November. You'll see dates a little bit later. So this is when it's the dry season, so the wildlife is congregating toward the river, toward these channels. So you have these massive herds of elephants, big pods of hippos, crocs, beautiful plains game, all coming to drink along these river channels. And so you can have this really intimate experience, and the photography is extraordinary. So in this case, you see, generally speaking, you'll have 2 clients to a canoe, and then a guide who will be your personal guide along the channel, and as well as keeping you safe. The other unique activity is tiger fishing. As I said, solely catch and release. There is fly fishing available, as well as rod and reel trolling. September, October is the peak season when you can get some of the larger tigers, and they are beautiful fish. If you don't look too closely at their jaw and their teeth. Obviously, the guides are well versed in removing the hooks, and that's not something your clients would ever have to do. I don't think you'd want to stick your fingers into the jaws of those tiger fish, or you might lose the tip of it. But they're beautiful fish and very relatively easy to catch at the right time of year, and they're definitely prolific, as I said, in September, October. Walking is also available in Lower Zambezi. The nice thing is, because it is a river and there are many tributaries through the park, even in the driest of the dry season. I was there in October this past year, and it is the peak, the end of the dry season. Everybody was begging for rain to come to begin the green season and cool things down a little bit. But even during that peak of the heat, you still have these verdant little valleys with tributaries from the river coming through. So it's not a completely dusty and dry safari experience, even at the peak of the dry season, which is very nice, especially if you're combining this with South Luangwa National Park, which admittedly during the end of the dry season is very dry. It's very dusty, there's not a lot of water in that environment, whereas here in Lower Zambezi, a lot more water flows through the park in these little tributaries, making it much greener. Private lunches out on the mini islands, the little sand islands that you have in the middle of the Zambezi River. This is something that we organize with guests. Just about every guest that travels, whether it's just a sundowners out on one of these little islands in the river, or it's a part of a multi-day canoe safari, or it's a surprise honeymoon lunch with clients out paddling or out on a boat safari, and they come around a bend, then arrive at a beautiful private table set up for lunch or for dinner. It's one of those unique experiences that you really can only do in this part of the world, having this outdoor dining in the middle of a massive river on one of these islands. So one of the unique experiences as well in the Lower Zambezi. So an aerial shot of the Chongwe River Camp area. Here you can see Chongwe River Camp has 11 rooms, 8 standard suites, standard tents, and 2 suites. And then about a kilometer around that bend of the Chongwe River, you see the Chongwe House in that little set upon that floodplain, that river floodplain there. And then the Zambezi River is running from right to left. Is that right? No, it's running from left to right, actually. And then the Lower Zambezi National Park is on the left-hand side of the Chongwe River. So Chongwe River Camp is literally a stone's throw across the Chongwe River into the park. Private access, or they have direct access into the national park, whether that's by boat or by vehicle. So it is very easy. You're basically, again, you're in the same wildlife experience, same landscape environment as the national park. You're just a baseball throw across a small river. The team, Flossie, is at the core of the team. She's the manager of Chongwe Safaris, has been for many years. She's in the center there. To her right is Caroline, who does reservations, and to Caroline's right is Alan, who is the assistant manager and is Flossie's husband, actually. So they really work as a great team together. They've been there for many, many years. Like I said, I think we're going on 15 years. So the collective knowledge from many years of safari with Chongwe is there. So the level of service is what really sets apart Chongwe Safaris. Yes, the location is exceptional on the confluence of the two rivers. The safari experience, the guiding is amazing, and the accommodations are exceptional. But it's really about the level of service. These guys would make you feel at home and make you feel like you're having a first-class safari. If you plopped a North Face tent down on the edge of the river, you would still have an exceptional, exclusive feeling safari because of the level of service that you get from the team at Chongwe. Some great, really experienced guides as well, who are able to do both walking as well as canoe safaris, game drives, and then, of course, fishing. So it's a great team at Chongwe, and really one of the highlights and one of the differentiators for the company. All right, so we're going to jump into the actual properties now and go through some of the highlights of those. Chongwe Camp, 8 Riverside Classic Tents. Those are your classic safari-style tent that you would find, in the Serengeti, the old school days in Botswana. I mean, it's a classic safari tent. Really, for those that want a tented experience, it doesn't get any better than that. They're all in suite. They're all located right on the river with absolutely amazing views, incredible game viewing. And I'll show you photos coming up of the game that I shot with my camera sitting on the front of my tent. I mean, it's just amazing what you can do without leaving the camp itself because of that location. Important to know, Chongwe River Camp is open only from the 1st of April through November 15th. It's Lower Zambezi in general is a seasonal destination during the dry season. Kasaka Lodge is actually open during the green season. It was for the first time last year, and it will be again this year. So that is one of the few places that is actually open during the November, December through April time period. But Chongwe River Camp is closed, so you need to be aware of that. River levels are just too high. There's too much water because of the fact that the Chongwe Camp is sited right on the edge of the river. There's not much of a bank there, so as you'll see. As I said before, driving, safaris, canoeing, walking, tiger fishing, spectacular views of that escarpment, and the elephant herds that come through camp are amazing. Again, you of course need an escort to your tent in the evenings because of the wildlife that's coming through camp. But during the day, it's just, keep heads up, and you're amazing what you see, just like I said, from sitting in camp at your tent or just walking through the property. There is a swimming pool, so this is good for families as well. And there's also 2 suites, the Albida suite, which is a 2-bedroom suite, great for families traveling together or couples, and then the 1-bedroom Cassia Suite, which is the quintessential romantic honeymoon safari suite. You'll see more about that coming up. So this is the view from your standard tent. So again, as I said, right on the water on the Chongwe River, looking toward the east, I believe, the escarpment to the east, and right across into the Lower Zambezi National Park. There's a river floodplain to the left, which you'll see in a moment, some of the photography that I took from sitting in that very same spot. Interior of the tent, very comfortable, and the in-suite bath connected on the back end of that tent through that door. You either have, let's just see here, I want to double check the size. I think you've got a queen-size bed or 2 twins is typically the setup for these tents. So if you have families, you can have mom and dad in one mom and dad in one, or mom and child in one, and dad and child in another, and they're located relatively close as well. There's the safari, the bathroom, the in-suite bath attached to the standard tent, outdoor shower, very spacious, hot water showers, lots of room, and also very private, of course. But these are the photos that I took from sitting on the front of one of the standard tents, looking to the east of that massive, that wonderful floodplain. Especially in October when I was there, the water levels have dropped quite a bit, so you have all of this great green grass that's grown that the wildlife loves to come and chew on. And just in this photo, you can see an elephant, 2 of them, obviously, like right in front of me. Hippos, impala, there's some warthogs, there were crocs. I mean, it's just an amazing wildlife bonanza right from the front step of your tent. And like I said, there's a croc just across the river from me. Definitely keep your distance from the crocs, but beautiful animals when seen from a distance, and when they're nice and clean, as this guy was. Hippos, huge hippo pods. Because of that confluence of the Chongwe and the Zambezi River, you get these, the hippos love that area because of all the water action, and there are huge pods of hippos. So at night you hear those wonderful hippo sounds, which sometimes sound a little bit inappropriate, but you can definitely hear the hippos all the time snorting and making their little whoa, whoa, whoa noises. It's really a very cool location. I love this photo because you have these hippos out grazing, and there's a croc sitting right next to them. Really, they're not paying either of them any mind. They seem to just coexist very easily. But this is directly across the Chongwe River from my tent, and the zoom here isn't major. This is more of an artistic shot, but that elephant was right there in front of the tent, taken through the greenery right in front of the tent. So those standard tents are wonderful options for the person that wants that safari tented experience. A little bit more of a value. It is incredible wildlife viewing from the tent itself. And the views are extraordinary as well. So a very comfortable option. Just down to the river toward the confluence of the Zambezi and the Chongwe are the suites. The suites are amazing, and they are certainly for your higher-end clientele, your luxury packs. This is the way to go. Albida suite is the two-bedroom suite that has, as you can see there, a private plunge pool. It's completely private, butler-serviced accommodations and dining. So if guests can have all of their meals in the little lounge area in between the 2 bedrooms, and they have their own private guide. Like I said, their own private butler and dining in their suite. If they want to participate and join in with the group safari experience in the main Chongwe camp, it's not a far walk at all to go back to the main lounge of Chongwe camp and have lunch there or have breakfast there. So that it's an option. It can be completely private, or you can have the more typical safari experience with other guests, meeting other guests. It's a colonial style tent, 2 bedrooms and suite bath. Like I said, private dining room and lounge in the middle, the bar, fridge, plunge pool, there's a fire pit. It's really ideal for families. You have 2 bedrooms on either side, in suite with the lounge in the center. Great for 2 couples as well. And that location, looking out at that confluence, is just, I mean, you see the sunrise right over the river there. It's just an amazing location as well. But like I said, colonial style, big, large tents, huge beds, in-suite bath, outdoor shower. Got Victorian style ball and ball and claw bathtub. There's a rainfall-style shower to the left there. You can't really see it. So it's got that feel of really being integrated into the bush, but yet incredibly comfortable. There's a shot of the lounge that connects the two bedrooms. Another shot, the dining area. And then the Cassia Suites is just down the river next to Albida Suites, and it is just one bedroom. Also, I guess I didn't have the text up there. It's also just one bedroom, same setup, same style as the Albida Suite, but just one bedroom, has a private plunge pool. Again, completely private services are available, private dining, private butler, private guide. This is your quintessential honeymoon option. So if you have honeymooners that are interested in visiting Lower Zambezi, this is their place to visit, to stay. It's just an incredibly beautiful spot. Fire pit as well, right on the river. Little chaise lounges there for the afternoon siesta time period. And then a beautiful view over the private plunge pool from their bed to the Zambezi River. For those of you that joined me for the Norman Carr Safaris webinar, the combination of this for your luxury packs, the combination of the suites is and Chinzambo is exceptional. So your romantic honeymooners, high-end honeymooners, I would book the suite, the Cassia Suite, and then one of the Chinzambo suites for a great 10-day Zambia safari, honeymoon safari. Like I said, you've got wildlife through camp. This elephant looks like he wants to have breakfast with the guests as well. This is the Chongwe River Camp. This is their boma, basically, right on the river, where breakfast and dinner is usually served. This is the sunrise, about 6 a.m., getting ready for breakfast before the morning activity. For those that aren't familiar with the traditional safari day, it usually begins quite early. 5:30, depending on when the sun is rising, 5:30, 6 a.m. starts with a light continental breakfast, although they make eggs over the fire and coffee and teas and fruits and cereals. And then you head out on your morning activity, whether that's a canoe safari, a walking safari, or a driving safari. It'll all last probably about 3 to 4 hours, with a break in the middle of that activity for coffee and tea and cakes, a little coffee tea break. And then returning to camp around 10:30, 11 o'clock for freshening up, showers, and then brunch. And then the middle of the day is really set aside for, like I said previously, like siesta, for reading a book, for relaxing, largely because it does get pretty warm during the heat of the dry season. So during the peak of the day, the heat of the day, you really don't want to be out in the middle of the bush. Not to mention the animals are all under the shade of trees and hidden in the bush as well, because it is hot with the sun at its peak. So the middle of the day is really go in the swimming pool, relax, read a book, sit around and watch the wildlife, as I did, from the front of your tent. And then in the afternoon, you begin about 3 o'clock for tea time, and then embark on an afternoon activity about 4, whether that, again, is a canoe safari, a driving safari, or a boating safari. In the middle of that afternoon activity, as the sun goes down, the quintessential safari activity of a sundowner stop. One of the great things about the Lower Zambezi and the sundowners are just extraordinarily beautiful because of the fact that you're on this river. And you saw earlier the picture of the couple that they actually were having a private lunch on one of the sand islands in the middle of the river. But it's also a great spot for sundowners in the evening, or in the park somewhere on a drive overlooking one of the tributaries with lots of game as you sip your safari cocktail of choice. Gin and tonic being the quintessential safari sundowner cocktail, but there's certainly other options as well. So again, this is the Chongwe Safaris dining area, boma area, where you have many of your meals. Here's the main lounge, very comfortable. Again, that kind of colonial style, big tents, big overstuffed couches, great for flopping down and reading a book, looking at your pictures. There is Wi-Fi in the main lounge that doesn't really extend to the tents. I believe that Albida Suite and Cassia Suite both have Wi-Fi. I would need to double check that, but you definitely have pretty good Wi-Fi here in the main lounge area of Chongwe. Off to the right here, or just directly ahead, you can see that where we were earlier, the Boma dining area that's literally right on the Chongwe River. It's a classic Lower Zambezi shot of elephants crossing the river. You'll see them with their snouts in the air swimming, depending on the time of year and how deep the water is. If they're swimming in the Zambezi, you certainly will see them with the snout sticking up and not much else. These guys, I think they actually they're going across the Chongwe, so it's a little bit less deep, but they still have their snouts in the air. There's great game as well. Don't let anybody tell you that Lower Zambezi doesn't have a great game experience, and that it's all about just canoeing and not seeing big game, big cats. I saw 17 lions when I was there in October in one day, several prides, including 2 big males. These guys are out on one of the Sandy River banks. It's kind of an interesting area to see the sea lion. But there is good lion sightings. Leopard you can see. It's not as regular as South Luangwa, but they do have leopard. Of course, elephants are everywhere. There are no rhino, unfortunately, so you don't have all of the big 5, but you do see quite a bit of big game. Wild dog is rare, although there are wild dog. There have been packs sighted recently, and cheetah is very rare, although they do exist in some places. But great lion sightings and leopard as well, and of course then your ellies and hippos and lots of good plains game. Okay, so going from Chongwe River House, just around the bend of the Chongwe River Camp to Chongwe River House. The house is truly it's a one of a kind, as you can see. It's designed by renowned architect Neil Rocher. He also did the Luangwa House up in South Luangwa National Park, which is operated by Robin Pope Safaris. It is about 1 kilometer away from Chongwe River Camp, as I said. It sleeps up to 8 guests in 4 rooms. Minimum for the house is 4. So again, great for your high-end family. It is designed in a very unique style. To look like the towering spires of terrariums you see out in the bush, and using the organic materials of the area and integrating them right into the walls and the ceilings and the floors of the house itself. As I said, it's fully it sleeps up to 8. It's fully staffed, entirely private. You have your private butler, private chef, private guides. All your activities begin and end from the house. You don't go back to Chongwe River Camp for anything. You are completely in a private, exclusive environment. 4 large in-suite bedrooms. It's also open seasonally. It's perfect for families or groups, 2 couples or, 4 couples. Infinity swimming pool and viewing deck. Beautiful, huge infinity pool. As I said, private, everything. This is the view across the Chongwe River toward the house. And again, it's sited right on the river. Beautiful views of the escarpment beyond the Chongwe River there. Shot of 2 of the bedrooms. They're a lower bedroom and an upper bedroom, and it's basically the same thing on each side. So you have a lot of privacy, outdoor bath and shower. This is the view from one of the rooms. You can see the bath to the left, overlooking the Chongwe River. Another view of the room. They've used all kinds of natural materials into the design of the house. Those pebbles or those stones were taken from the Chongwe River for the waterfall, rainfall shower. Fallen trees that they've hewn into basins for washing. Of course, there's hot water, running water here as well. Even though it looks like it might be out of the Flintstones, this is definitely full running water, hot water, everything, and just that real organic feel of incorporating the natural environment into the design of the house. This is a tree that had been felled previously to the house being built. It had fallen, and it was integrated into a couch here, into a large seating area, and basically they used the entire tree and turned it into both the coffee table there as well as the couch seating area. You can see the kid is enjoying the plush overstuffed pillows, and his kind of nestled into the crook of that tree. a view from the inside the house overlooking the infinity pool and the private deck on out to the national park and the Chongwe River. Really peaceful spot. I did say fly fishing is available, and this guy is in, he apparently is not worried about crocs. It's interesting, but yeah, he's fly fishing right from the front of the house, and the Chongwe presents a lot of great fly fishing opportunities as well, and you can see back into the house. The woman is seated on one of the chaise lounges overlooking the private pool. So again, combination for families or multiple couples, a larger group of luxury high-end couples. Combination of Chongwe River House and Chinzambo from Norman Car Safaris in South Luangwa is an excellent one. Just to give you an idea of rack rates for Chongwe River Camp and for the suites in the River House. During the peak season, Chongwe River Camp, the rack is about $780 per person. The suites run about $950 per person rack, and the River House also runs about $950 per person rack. And again, the River House, it's a minimum of 4 people, and it's on a per person basis. So you're not paying more for the house if you only have 4 than if you have 8. It's on a per person basis. Just another view of some buffalo and the escarpment and the river beyond. Incredibly scenic spot. Sable. Sorry, kudu, not sable. There are no sable. Kudu. Male kudus having a little tussle. So going from the Chongwe River Camp to the Cassia River Lodge, you're going upstream, as I said earlier, about 4 or 5 kilometers up the Zambezi River. This is more of a value property, but yet still a great option. This would combine very well with Kapani Lodge in South Luangwa as a combination. Cassia River Lodge runs about $570 per person during peak season. So definitely a much more value-oriented property, but a beautiful location and really comfortable tent as well, as you'll see. They also do have an exclusive suite called the Hippo Pond, which is great for families and couples as well. Very kid-friendly property. They've got a Bush Kids program that's tailored just for kids that allows families parents to go off on their own to do their own drives, and the kids are well taken care of and entertained, and or for guides who are specifically trained to work with kids and who love kids, to take the whole family out on a safari, on a driving safari. Again, walking is 14 plus, as well as canoeing. So really, if you have younger kids, the game drives and the boating safaris are your best option. Cassia also has a great swimming pool, and there is a honeymoon tent with an outdoor bath, which you'll see. This is one of their standard tents. Overlooking, it's up on a high bank, about a 50-foot bank overlooking the Zambezi River. They're large, walk-in canvas-style safari tents, usually 2 single beds or a king-size bed. There are 2 sides. There are 8 tents, 2 sides, 4 on each. There's the cultivated side, which is the one you're looking at here, more manicured gardens. That's where the swimming pool is. And then you have the natural bush side, which is actually more integrated into the natural environment, the natural landscape and natural plants of the area. So 2 different styles, but the same type of tent on each side. This is the wild mango honeymoon tent, which has its own private plunge pool, outdoor bath, is very private, overlooking the Zambezi as well. There's the great swimming pool overlooking the river. 2 different views, one looking back toward the campus is again on the cultivated side, the more manicured gardens. Also great for kids, to run around a little bit. And then looking out over the river. And then just down the river, not even, 150, 200 yards from the main Cassia River Lodge is the Hippo Pond private suite. Used to be a private house and now is available for booking. It has its own private plunge pool, also private dining. You can see on the left there. And 2 bedrooms, en-suite bedrooms with a lounge in the center, which can be converted into additional sleeping area generally for older kids. It wouldn't be great for 3 couples because there's not a bathroom and it's not very private. But if you have a family that has 4 kids, this will work really well. You can see the bedroom inside, very comfortable. Sleeps up to 6, private pool, private dining. There's a view from the Hippo Pond over the private dining area and down to the river. And then going upstream about 45 kilometers is the Tasika Island, which is a community partnership with the local village. Chongwe leases the land for the island from the local village, as well as there's a $50 per person bed night fee that goes into the village as well. It goes back into the community. And that is used to develop and maintain the Chiawa Cultural Village, as well as just to keep up the village itself, as well as the local school. So if you have packs that are interested in a cultural experience in the Lower Zambezi, visiting Tasika Island is really a must, because really going to the island, part of that experience should be going to see the village and the Chiawa Cultural Center as well, to learn more about the local Goba people. Tasika is also great for the person that wants to do an overnight canoe safari. Generally speaking, the way it would work, most often it's a 2-night, 1-day, or 2-day, 1-night extension. So you would go up on a motorized boat during the day, do some game viewing by boat, maybe some fishing along the way, spend the night at Tasika Island, and the following day do a canoe safari back to Chongwe River Camp or back to Cassia. So really that is one of the main aims of Tasika, is to allow for that full-day canoe safari. So on the way back, you're paddling, drifting past the riverine scenery, through game viewing along those islands in the middle of the Zambezi. Stop to take a picnic or lunch en route on one of the islands, or on the banks of the river, and then finish up in the late afternoon at, like I said, either Cassia or at Chongwe River Camp. There are 5-day canoe safaris where Chongwe will work in partnership with other operators farther down the river if you have clients that are really interested in just a canoe safari straight up. That's something that can be arranged, so let us know about that. Also, some of the best fishing, tiger fishing, is up near Tasika Island. It's a very simple camp, very basic. There are no predators on the island. There is some game, but it's all relatively small. So it's a very open lodging style here, as you can see. Very simple, but very comfortable. The main lodge overlooking river. Directly across from Tasika, you're in Monopool's World Heritage Site. And like I said, the Goba people, there's oftentimes they will arrange for traditional dancers to come and teach the guests about their traditions, about their culture, about their music. This is also something you can do in the village as well, where they really love to share more about their culture and how they live. And many of the guides that work at a lot of the safari camps are pulled from, are employed from these local villages. And so there is a lot of, community-based tourism is a really integral part to Chongwe and to most of the operators in Lower Zambezi in providing employment and working together with the local community to protect wildlife and to provide economic benefits to the community through ecotourism and through safaris. One of those things that they do that through is the Conservation Lower Zambezi. Chongwe is a charter original member of that, and still is very involved to this day. Wildlife protection, of course, is a big part of that, funding Zawa and the scouts that go out and do anti-poaching patrols. Wildlife protection, rescue, and rehabilitation. They have an orphaned wildlife center, and this little guy, this cute little hippo, was orphaned and was being nursed back to health. Looks like he might be trying to nurse on the toe of that gentleman. removing snares, poachers' snares. I mean, it's just a horrible thing, but the reality is it does happen. But that's why you have great organizations like Conservation Lower Zambezi that are funded by the safari operations of responsible operators like Chongwe, going out and tranquilizing lions and other game and getting rid of the snares. Obviously, the poachers are trying to, or the anti-poaching patrol are trying to stop poachers entirely. Occasionally, you get there too late and you have to take off a snare. And this lion is alive. He's just tranquilized, and they're going to remove that snare and help him feel a lot better. Environmental education, teaching the local community about the protection of wildlife and protecting the environment, and how, in this case, this photo is showing how all the strings, everyone's attached, everyone's connected, and if one person lets go, the ecosystem begins to collapse one by one. So just illustrating how interconnected we are with the wildlife and how critical the wildlife is to keeping the environment working properly and also to providing economic benefits. Community development work, especially this human-wildlife conflict mitigation, they're actually creating these bricks with chilies that help to stop elephants from raiding crops, raiding gardens. They put chilies into these bricks, dry them out, and create walls of chili bricks, which the elephants apparently are not. They don't have. They're not into spicy food, so they don't like those walls. So they stay away. So that's this is your quintessential Lower Zambezi photo of canoes at sunset, just before or after sundowners, and one of the quintessential activities, as I said, the other being fishing, the tiger fishing. But really, Lower Zambezi is one of those safari experiences where you are away in the national park. You see very few vehicles on drives while canoeing. It's a very exclusive sort of safari experience, but one that is niche in a way, especially for those that want to have that active safari experience. You cannot find a better place than the Lower Zambezi. And Chongwe is positioned in such a great place, location-wise, with its multiple properties, being able to offer different types of lodging for different budget levels, for different types of safari goers, from families to couples to romantic honeymooners to singles. It really is a great option. And then the combination, of course, with Norman Carr Safaris and having that contrasting and yet complementary, comprehensive Zambia itinerary between the two parks is what makes this partnership between the two really work well. And then this is just your quintessential shot from Chongwe of the escarpment and the Chongwe River and the river plain beyond. Just an absolutely peaceful, beautiful place to spend a few nights. So that's the end of our presentation. I'll take some questions now. I just want to show you some contact information. Mindy Roberts is the Sales and Marketing Director for both Norman Carr Safaris and Chongwe Safaris. She's probably your first contact if you need information, have questions, or are interested in developing a direct booking relationship. Norman Carr also happily works, and in most cases in North America, works with incoming DMC out of South Africa, so usually South Africa, Southern Africa. So you can certainly book Norman Carr and Chongwe through your preferred DMC. If you're an agent in North America and you prefer to work with a North American safari operator who works with Norman Carr, booking that way for a commission, certainly contact me and we'd be happy to suggest a couple of options. And then Lindsay and I are here we're based in Seattle, and we're here to be a resource for you for Norman Carr and Chongwe. In particular, when it's after hours in Africa, if you have questions, want to brainstorm ideas about a safari, need rates, just you need photos, need marketing materials, what have you, we're here to help do that and help be a resource for you. As I said, we don't quote itineraries, so you do have to wait to hear back from Caroline, who's your reservations person at Chongwe, or from Mindy. But both of us have experienced both locations in depth, and we can certainly brainstorm how to put an itinerary together, or what would pair up well between the two. And your website there, chongwe.com. So I'm going to move here to take some questions. We've got quite a few, I think. And then, again, I will send out a link to everyone with agent information, with a lot of images, informational sheets on all of these camps for both Norman Carr and Chongwe. And and much other information. So, question, when staying at Chongwe, are the game drives into the national park? Yes, absolutely. Like I said, from Chongwe, you can either, in many cases, what they'll do is they'll take vehicles earlier in the morning or in the midday if you're doing an afternoon drive, and the guides and the assistant guides will drive the vehicles into the park, deep into the park, and then the guests will actually get on a motorized boat and motor down the river and come into to the place where the vehicles have been spotted. So that just cuts off a lot of driving and gets you deeper into the park. And then either you can game drive all the way back to Chongwe or back to the point where the boat's dropped off, and then they'll pick you up there and take you back to camp after sundowners, of course. So yes, packs are absolutely guaranteed to spend a lot of time, a lot of time in the park. In fact, 95% of their activities are done in the park. One thing that they are able to do, since of their location just across the river, is to do bush dinners. Usually do a surprise bush dinner for every 3 nights that the packs stay at Chongwe. At least one of the nights they'll be coming back from an afternoon activity, and the guides will be saying, yeah, we're almost back to camp, and they'll come around the bend, and there will be a barbecue bush dinner set up in a really, private grove of trees somewhere, all candle lit and really beautiful, and guests will sit down to that surprised dinner under the stars after their game drive or their canoe safari in the afternoon. Marie, I hope everything is all right. Sounds like there might be tornadoes wherever you are. Bobby, question about our trips guaranteed, or is there a minimum number required? There are no group trips actually for Norman Carr or for Chongwe. These are all FIT bookings, so there aren't any specific departure dates for group trips. So if you're looking for a group trip as an agent, then definitely you would want to talk to us, to me or Mindy, about a North American operator that is operating a group trip where they're selling their packs into a set departure that they've negotiated and established with either Chongwe or Norman Carr, and you could certainly book into that as an agent. So that would be your best option if you're looking for a set departure. That said, if you caught the Norman Carr presentation earlier, they have a safari called the Week on the Wild Side, which is a 7-day itinerary, and it has no single supplement, and it runs any day basically, and basically packs are kind of integrated into the existing groups or existing clients and packs that are staying at the different camps, and it's a discounted price because they ask for flexibility and allow and tell you what camps you're going to be staying at, or what camps your clients are staying at 2 weeks prior to the departure. So there are 4 camps that Norman Carr uses for their Week on the Wild Side itinerary, and your clients are guaranteed to stay in at least 3. And as long as they don't have to stay in one of them, then that flexibility that allows Norman Carr to kind of put people in where they have room within 2 weeks of departure, you get a much discounted price. I think it's $39.90 in the rack in the green season or in the shoulder season. So certainly contact me for that. It's not a group departure, but it acts like one in many ways. So I think that's all the questions, and I appreciate you joining. Hopefully, what was both of our webinars on Zambia, starting with Norman Carr and then on to Chongwe Safaris. Like I said, I will be sending out links to agent information, marketing information, as well as a link to this archived presentation on our website. That's going to be at cusinicollection.com/multimedia. You'll be able to watch it again or share it with another one of your team members or even your potential clients. So thanks again for your attention, for your time, for your questions, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And I hope to see you or some of your clients on safari sometime very soon in Zambia. Take care.